you, Dr. Sekayi. Appreciated sharing your insight. Now it's time for a panel discussion on publication opportunities. Before we go into discussion, each invited editor will take a few minutes to introduce their journal, publication policies, other tips or notes. First, I invite Professor Dr. Kara Finnigan from University of Rochester, New York. Dr. Finnigan is a distinguished professor and also editor-in-chief of AERA Open, one of the big AERA Open journal. So now floor is yours, Dr. Finnigan.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to put in the chat the link to our journal in case you want to be looking at it while I'm talking. I'm really excited to be here. This is amazing. When I got the invitation, I couldn't believe all the time zones that were included. So I know there are people from all over the world, and AERA Open is an opportunity for all of you. It does accept both US focused and international studies. I became editor-in-chief on January 1st of this year. So I have a new team that we've been putting together. And I would say I was actually very excited about the opportunity to be the editor-in-chief for a few reasons. One is that it is our AERA, the American Educational Research Association. It's our only open access journal. And I've been working a lot in my own activities at my faculty job at the University of Rochester and sort of thinking more about how we break down the barriers and the gatekeeping around some of the knowledge production that happens. And so to have an open access journal means that we can reach more groups, whether it's policymakers or practitioners or even people in other countries. And so I think that's a really important way to generate knowledge and also make sure that people have access to it. Another reason that I wanted to be involved in this journal is because I wanted to find ways to build the field as far as diversifying the methods and the perspectives that are published, that are represented basically in AERA Open. And so a couple of things that I thought I'd mention. This is a journal that does take both empirical and theoretical studies, although I would say it's primarily we get a lot more empirical studies. If you did submit something that's more theoretical or conceptual, I think that it would be important to be very clear about the conceptual or methodological work that you're doing. So for example, if it's a philosophy study, then what kind of rigorous methods that you would use as a philosopher, even if they're not collecting the same kind of data that we might see in other empirical studies. A couple of other things that I just wanted to mention is that I thought it might be useful to know, I don't like the term desk reject, but that is what happens when sometimes we see an initial stage of the process that we don't think it's quite ready to go out for external review. And if that does happen, then please know that it's not anything about the capability that you bring to that work, but it's that we do have limited access to reviewers. And so we do try to move forward things that we can see that they're more ready to go through that next process. And one of the major reasons that we desk reject is when we see that it's just not quite put together. There might not be strong enough rationale that's been described in terms of why this study is done or why it's important to the field. It might not be as theoretically grounded in terms of really delving into the literature that discusses, perspectives that you're bringing to this topic. It might not have sufficient details about the methodology. And that can be one where we just can't tell yet really what the area that you've been working in, how the data was collected. There sort of needs to be some transparency around that in terms of the details. And finally, another area that we have is if it's not a thread that goes through so that when the findings are discussed, they're discussed in light of that conceptual framework. So I thought those might be things just to know about the kinds of things we're seeing right away that are coming in that we're not yet ready to move forward to external review. So I think I'll stop there and just let the other people have some of their conversation around their journals, because I know we're going to have some questions later.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's great information. By the way, all AERA journal are the top journal in our field, and this is the only open access journal. You can visit actually website and look into the aims and scope, and then also publication fees. There are different fees for the member and non-members.